In this video, I'm going to show you some of the most useful shortcuts in Final Cut Pro that are sure to speed up your editing workflow. Now, the first set of actual shortcuts that I want to show you is more of like a set of the different tools that are available to you. So here in Final Cut Pro, you have all of these different tools that are available to be used while you're in the editing process. Now we have a select tool, we have the trim tool, position tool, range selection, blade, zoom, and the hand. Now each of those tools has its own shortcut key. So I'll give you a quick example of what each of these does and its shortcut key. If you hit the A key, that's going to give you your select tool. That basically allows you to just select objects, move them around, that kind of stuff. It's pretty basic. You use that almost all the time. The next tool that's available to us is the trim tool. So I'm just going to make a cut here like that so you can see it. And then I'm going to hit the T key. That's going to give me the trim tool. With the trim tool, you can actually, if you have a cut clip where there's actual clips on other sides of it, you can actually move that clip around with the trim tool, and that makes it easier for you to find the exact spot that you want to be on the clip. And then the next tool we have is the position tool. So we'll hit the P key. That will give us our position tool. Now with the position tool, you can actually move clips around and it will leave a gap clip so it doesn't disrupt the actual flow of the timeline. So I can move it around. I can click on it, move it around, and now it leaves a gap clip that allows us to be able to maintain the actual structure of the timeline. And to just show you the difference here, if I were to do this with the select tool, so I hit the A key to get back to the select tool, if I were to move that, it does not create a gap clip. It actually disrupts the timeline. So we don't want that to happen. So sometimes when you just want to move stuff around, you'll hit the P key and that will give you the position tool. And then you can move that and it will create the gap clips for you. Now the next tool that we have a shortcut key for is the range selection tool. If you hit the R key, that will give you the range selection, and then you can just drag anywhere on a clip and that will be able to select a range within that clip. So the R key is our shortcut to get to that. And then of course we have our blade tool. This is probably going to be the tool you use the most when you're doing any editing. And all you have to do is hit the B key. That will give you the blade tool. And then you can just move around to any clip and click, and it will make your cuts for you like that. The next tool we can get to is the zoom tool, and we're going to hit the Z key to get to that. That will bring us to the zoom tool. And then you can just select a region that you want to zoom in on, and then it will zoom in on it like that. And then if you hold down the Option key and you click, you can actually zoom back out. So it's a really cool little quick way to get to the zoom tool. And then finally, the last tool that we have here is our hand tool. So if we hit the H key, that's going to give us our hand tool, and that allows us to actually move the timeline back and forth and move it around without actually moving the elements on the timeline. So this is basically a really nice handy way to be able to kind of scroll back and forth or move around on the timeline. Sometimes I find that the scroll bar down here disappears and I can't get to it, so sometimes I have to jump to the hand tool to just be able to kind of move back and forth in the timeline. So it's really useful to be able to do things like that. And those are all the shortcut keys for the tools that we have in Final Cut Pro. But one of those tools, like I said, is the blade tool. And the blade tool, you're going to use this almost all the time when you're doing editing. Now, it can be somewhat tedious to have to jump back to the blade tool all the time and then scroll around with your mouse and basically pick the spots. Sometimes you just want to be able to make a cut with a shortcut key without actually having to have the blade tool selected. So to do that, we're going to go back to our actual select tool here, so we're just out of our blade tool completely, and then we're going to try a couple of different shortcut keys here. Now the first shortcut key for the blade tool, if I just put my cursor anywhere here, I'm going to put my playhead right there. If I hit Command B, that will actually make a cut on the primary storyline for me. If nothing is selected and I do Command B, that's going to actually cut on the primary storyline, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Over here, where we have clips that are actually above the primary storyline here, and they're actually connected to it, if nothing was selected and I tried to do Command B over here, it's not going to cut this clip like I expect it to. It's going to cut the primary storyline. So you can see down here in this gap clip that I actually cut the gap clip because I had nothing selected. However, if you have a clip selected, that is going to be the clip that gets cut. And if you have multiple clips selected, all of them will get cut. So in this case, if I want to cut this top line but not this one, I make sure it's selected and I hit Command B, and now it's going to actually cut the clip that I expect it to. So Command B is the way that we're going to just be able to either cut the primary storyline if nothing's selected, or we can cut any clips that we have selected. So again, like I said, if there's multiple clips selected and I go over here and I hit Command B, it's going to cut both of them, okay? Now, what if we had no clips selected, but we wanted to cut multiple clips, or we could actually cut through all of the clips at once? So I'm just going to grab these really here and I'm going to bring them up to the top like this, because now I'm going to deselect everything. And what if I wanted to clip through all of these right here? To do this now, all I have to do is put my playhead here, and I can do Command Shift B, and that's going to cut through all of the actual clips that are on the timeline that are at the playhead. So Command Shift B is a really good way to be able to cut through a whole bunch of clips at once without having to go through and select each one. I use that a lot when I'm creating tutorials and things for YouTube, because for me, a lot of times I will record my screen, but I'm also recording my face while I'm doing this. So in the end, when I'm doing the editing, I have the clip that's my face on the top, and I have the screen recording underneath. And then when I want to just go through and do my little cuts and edits, I just do Command Shift B and I cut through both of those clips as I'm going through. And it's so much easier. It's so much quicker. It's just a way more efficient way to edit using the shortcut keys. Now, there are often times when you're zoomed way in on your screen and you want to just kind of see your whole timeline at once. There is a super handy shortcut key that will do that. If you just do Shift Z, that will actually make it so that you can see your entire timeline fitting on your screen. So again, Shift Z is going to just make it so it's visible. Your entire timeline is visible on the one screen. It's a very handy shortcut key when you are kind of deep down in the weeds and you're doing a whole bunch of editing, or you're zoomed in on a particular space and all of a sudden you want to cut back out and see the whole thing. Shift Z is just a really quick way to get there. Another set of really useful shortcut keys is to set in points and out points. Now, an in point is basically you're setting the beginning of the selection of what part of the clip you're going to select. So if you hit the I key, that will set an in point. And by default, it's going to set an out point of the end of the clip. But you can just go and find where you want the out point to be, where the end of your selection is going to be, and then hit the O key, and that will be the out point. So anytime you want to do that, you can do I for an in point, and then O for an out point, and you can select the actual range that you want with the beginning and the end of that selection. Using the I and the O keys, you can select in points and out points really easily. Now, another thing that you're going to want to do as you're going through the editing process, one way that you're going to want to speed up your edits is how you get clips into your timeline. Now, there's 4 different shortcut keys that are going to be able to do this really quickly. So I'm just going to show you each one of them. I'm going to delete all of this stuff right here, so we just have this one piece of a clip here. Now, I just want to select a very small portion of this so it doesn't take over the whole screen, so I can show you what each one of these shortcut keys does. The first shortcut key is the Q key. So if I have that selected and I hit Q, what that's going to do is it's going to connect the clip to the primary storyline, meaning it's going to put it on top of the storyline. It's going to put it wherever my playhead was. So if my playhead was here and I hit the Q key, it's going to actually start the clip there at the beginning of the playhead, and then it's going to connect it and set it on top of your existing storyline. It's a super useful way to just be able to get things into the timeline and start working right away. So the next shortcut key I'm going to talk about is inserting a clip into your actual primary storyline. Make sure that you have what you want to insert into the actual primary storyline, find the place with your playhead that you want to insert it, and then hit the W key. And what that is going to do is it's going to insert it into the existing primary storyline, but it's going to split it wherever it inserted it, and it will just take over that space. So the remaining portion of the clip will go to the end, the beginning portion of that will go to the beginning, and the clip that you inserted will be between the cut that was made to move those aside. So basically what you're doing is you're inserting this portion of the clip into what was already there. And I think one of the most useful ones is the E key. So if I have this selected again and I hit E, what that's going to do is it's going to append the video to the end of the primary storyline. So anytime you hit the E key like that, you are inserting your clip into the actual primary storyline, but it's appending it to the end. So keep that in mind. The Q key connects it to the top. The W key inserts it in between the clip. The E key is appending it to the end. And then finally, we have the D key. So I'm actually going to delete this one really quick, and I'm just going to put my playhead right here toward the end so I can actually show you what it does. If I hit the D key, that's going to overwrite the video that it's getting put into. So the new clip, this portion right here, got added, but it overwrote everything else that was after it. It didn't split it and move it apart. It just overwrites the whole thing. So again, the Q, W, E, and D keys are all of those keys that you're going to use to be able to insert media into your actual primary storyline or around your primary storyline in the way that you actually want to insert it. They're just super useful ways to be able to get the content into your actual timeline without having to drag your mouse around and slide and do all of those things. Just quick little shortcut keys gets the content in so you can start editing. Now, there are definitely times where you have clips in here and you're planning to put other content above it or below it, or you're doing other things and you just want a space, some kind of a placeholder, right? So the way you would do that is with something called a gap clip. And to insert a gap clip, all we have to do is Option W, and that will insert a gap clip like this so that you can then add stuff around it if you want, or you can add that extra space that you wanted, and it's really easy to do. So a shortcut key for gap clips, Option W. Now, when I learned about this next shortcut key, it revolutionized my editing. It was just so much quicker and easier the way that it handles it. So there are so many times when you make a cut, so you go through here, you've got your clip, you do Command B, you make your cut, and then you actually kind of append that to something else, or you cut two pieces of video together, and then you want to go back and you want to watch it, right, and make sure that it worked. You don't have to do that. All you have to do is when you make your cut here, or when you append your two videos together, or when you actually put two clips together like that, when your actual playhead is there, all you have to do is hit Shift and then question mark. And that will play 1 second before, all the way to 1 second after. And it allows you to be able to just review your actual edit that you made without having to move the cursor around and drag and go to a different spot and hit play and all that stuff. It cuts out like 2 or 3 different steps by just hitting Shift question mark. Again, Shift question mark plays the second before, lets you preview the edit, and then goes through it so that you can see how the actual edit worked. That was insanely useful for me. I found that to be one of the things that I use the most when I'm editing, because a lot of times I will make cuts, or I will like do little kind of quick little drags in to just cut a little bit of time off, and I just want to preview it really quick. The Shift question mark keys makes it so much quicker and so much easier to do that. Now, there are times when you want to delete portions of a clip, or you want to delete a part of a video, but you don't want it to actually affect the timeline. And one of the hard things with Final Cut Pro that it's really hard for people to get used to is the magnetic timeline. So if you delete pieces of the timeline, it pulls it together, it shrinks, and it changes the time of your video. Now, there are times you don't want to do that. So what you can do is if you go here, and let's say I just wanted to remove this clip right here, I can actually do Shift Delete, and that will delete that clip right there, but it leaves a gap clip in its place so that it doesn't change the actual length of the video or the structure or the integrity of the video itself. So if you want to be able to maintain the time or the length of the video or something like that, you can do Shift Delete, and that's going to delete the clip, but it's going to replace it with a gap clip so that it doesn't change the time of your video. Extremely helpful. Now, there are times when you want to be able to see the actual playhead no matter where your cursor is. We want to be able to skim through this and be able to see the playhead all the way through. And you can do that by hitting the S key. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow skimming. It's going to allow you to skim through your actual video like this and be able to see your video as you skim through it. So the S key is going to be able to toggle that on and off. So with skimming on, you're able to skim back and forth across the timeline, and you'll be able to see your entire video as it happens. If you turn skimming off by hitting the S key, when you move your mouse back and forth, it's not going to change the playhead, so you're not going to be able to see your video as you go back and forth across it. So for me, I typically like to keep skimming on because it allows me to kind of just skim back and forth through really quick and see different parts of my video quickly. So again, it's just a quick little trick to be able to edit quicker and be more efficient as an editor. Now, another super important thing is to be able to hide parts of the interface in Final Cut Pro, because sometimes you're working on a laptop or you're working on a screen that's a little smaller and you don't really have the real estate all the time to be able to just have everything open the way that you want to. So there are shortcut keys that allow you to be able to hide and show different parts of the interface to make it easier for you to get the work done that you need to get done. So if we want to hide and show the browser, we're going to do Control-Command-1. And if you press that once, it's going to hide the browser. If you press it again, it's going to show it. It's just a useful way to be able to toggle between hiding and showing the browser. If you want to be able to do the same thing with the timeline, it is Control-Command-2. Do the same thing. You can hide it, you can show it, you can toggle between them like that. And then, of course, if you want to be able to hide and show the inspector, then you just do Command-4, and that will hide the inspector. Command-4 will show the inspector. So you'll be able to kind of jump back and forth between showing the different parts of the interface so that you can edit quicker, you can kind of get to what you need, and you can see all of the different parts whenever you want them, whenever you need them. And this one isn't really a shortcut key, but I think it's super useful to know. So if you have the inspector open over here, you can, up here in this black space up here, actually I think it's up here at the top, you can double click in that and it will extend the length of the inspector so you can see more of the controls over here. It basically puts the inspector over here on the right, completely over on the right, and it moves the effects and the transitions over so that all of your inspector, all of your different properties and stuff are more accessible and more visible. It's not a shortcut key, but it is a super useful shortcut and trick to be able to see and get more real estate when you're trying to get work done in Final Cut Pro. Now I'm going to give you one more bonus shortcut key that I think is extremely useful, especially when you're working in Final Cut Pro and you're working with this magnetic timeline. If you're coming from a different editor, you've worked in DaVinci Resolve or you've worked in Adobe Premiere, you're not used to this magnetic timeline. So let's say you have a clip, for example, you have like this over here, that's connected to that one, that's connected to that one, and I'm just going to move this gap clip here so we can see it in action. If I wanted to move this clip right here over to here, but I don't want to affect these other clips that are attached to the magnetic timeline, it's going to be problematic because if I try to move this, you can see that because this is a magnetic timeline and all of those things are connected and stuck together, it's moving everything with it. And I don't want that. But I'm going to show you a shortcut key that can alleviate that. So all you have to do is hold down the tilde key, and then you can see that we get this little icon here that means that it's essentially disabled any of those magnetic connections to it. Now if I move this over to here like that, it's actually going to just move the clip that I want to do and not all of the other connections that were there with it. That is an extremely useful tool, especially when you're dealing with the magnetic timeline. You are probably going to find that as you go through and you're editing videos in Final Cut Pro, it's really annoying when you try to move something and a whole bunch of extra stuff comes with it. So holding down that tilde key is going to temporarily disable those connections so that you can move that single clip over to where you want to actually move it, and it's not going to affect the actual connections. Those are just a few different shortcut keys that are going to help you be more efficient as a video editor in Final Cut Pro. If you are looking to maximize the efficiency, improve your workflow, make it so that your video editing is faster, I highly recommend that you learn these shortcut keys. There's plenty of other useful shortcut keys out there for Final Cut Pro, and I will do more videos about shortcut keys in the future. If there are specific shortcut keys that you use that you think that everybody could benefit from, definitely comment down below about your favorite shortcut keys in Final Cut Pro. And if I missed something that you thought was essential, call me out down below. I don't care. Tell the whole world, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Here's a shortcut key that's going to help you do whatever you need to do. This is the shortcut key for you. I want you to do that. I don't care. Call me out. The whole point of this video is to teach people, right? And the comment section is to teach people. We want everybody to know and learn about all of these different shortcut keys so that we can get better at this video editing in Final Cut Pro. Thanks so much for watching. You guys are awesome. I love the feedback that you give me. I love that you are reaching out, you're contacting me, talking to me, leaving comments down below. Engagement is huge on YouTube, so please comment down below. Have a conversation with me. I want to hear from you. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope that you got a lot out of it. If you really enjoy the content on this channel and you want to become a member, check out this video right here. It tells you all about memberships. It's definitely worth it if you want a few perks and you want some cool stuff that goes along with being a member. Becoming a member supports the channel along with purchasing some of the plugins and things like that that I have for sale out there. All of those things help support the channel, so I appreciate you. As always, thanks so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, you should definitely check out that one. Now, when I first learned about this next shortcut key, it just revolutionized. Now, when I learned about this next... Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you... I almost forgot.